Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Ball Over Passion. I'm your guy at George V underscore AFC. And we've got Chris here, and we're here to talk about Europa. Sorry, guys, that we're late. We'll probably touch on the Tuchel sacking for sure. No worries. I think right here we don't have too many tactics to go through in terms of, some of the stuff, but we'll definitely have a talk about it. We'll have a chat. My bad. This time I was actually late. One of the few times this season, I must say. But we move. But Chris, how you doing? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Like going into a game tomorrow where the noise won't be as loud.
Mm,
Just finally back in Europe after a season off. Weird playing on a Thursday, but it not being the main team. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm feeling good. The Champions League has been decent. Obviously, Tuchel got sacked earlier than I thought he would, but he did get sacked. And yeah, Pickford's injured, so no, I'm feeling good going into this game.
Yeah, no, it's good. You know what? Look, I think a lot of people, we obviously know that. Look, let's get this out of the way because I feel like the standard police and there's this over celebration about standards, so to speak. But the biggest thing that I love about these European games is experimentation. Like when you find
Mm.
teams like the Zurich team, who, by the way, are second last on the table, although that doesn't mean much to start the league. But,
There
even
are
looking at
there are only 10 teams in the league.
yeah, and it's not much to say, but at the same token, there is a certain level to be found, and regardless of what level that is, a coach can feel comfortable experimenting on these types of games. The only thing that I'm just kind of annoyed at is there's a couple players that I think for me, for example, Reece Nelson, who's in the Last Chance Saloon, that is going to be 23 this December, that's going to be approaching 100 appearances in the shirt, and regardless of him being away or not, I would have thought these are the type of games that he would look at as food to kind of save his career. Um, I don't think we may not be able to see him. I know he's been back in training after a really tough thigh tear, not strain, but a thigh tear, which does take a while to get back. But then you got, Emil Smith Rowe picking up a niggly groin injury. So it's annoying that some of these guys won't get the chance that they need, I feel, to really stake a claim, because I feel as though Europe provides an opportunity for those bench players, or at least people that are searching for minutes, to really stake a claim. And look, Mikel has in the past given performances based on that. And, it's logical. If you perform in the Europa League, it's not necessarily a banishment. It absolutely means that you put yourself in contention for the starting 11 position. So let's get through that. And I feel like maybe we can end on a little bit of Tuchel chat. So that's what we'll do in the chat. Don't worry. We'll talk Pickford really briefly, but I'm going to save that for the Everton preview. Like we did see that, he's going to be injured. So we'll acknowledge it. So absolutely, it could be a chance in terms of international futures, but I'm not too sure because, look, Pickford being out for so little time, he will be okay for the World Cup. But let's just get on topic in terms of the Europa League. Chris, what do you think? What kind of a lineup do you see us putting out? I mean, he's got Granit Xhaka out in the press conference, something that I always felt that he would do. Mikel is one person that I think doesn't like rest. This is one of the things that
No.
me and you have basically challenged him with this season, especially with those 5 subs. Um, is essentially, what is he going to do management wise? How is he going to manage a squad? Because we can't go through this season without management. And to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of wholesale changes where I would wipe the slate clean completely of experience. I think that's extremely detrimental to a team. But Granit Xhaka seems to be talking to the press conference, so we know that he's starting. What is your ideal lineup looking at both balance, giving people chances, but also not going completely no experience in terms of our starters? Like, what does that look like for you? And what are you hoping to find from Mikel tomorrow?
Well, I love the fact that Xhaka's always fit. And even if he does play, I can count him to play 40, 50 games a season, yeah. Should we count him to do that? No, because we don't need to.
Hmm.
But will he be able to? Yeah. So him playing isn't the biggest deal. If it was someone like Saka or who is never injured, but you don't want to play so many games, you want to save him. So what do I think we'll see tomorrow? I think Turner, Tomiyasu, Tierney, um, Holding, and maybe Hold. Is Cedric's not fit? Is he? Is he
He's
fit?
not fit. So Cedric's not fit. Emil
Yeah,
Smith Rowe's
yeah,
not fit, and of course Partey and El Neni are long-term injuries. But
yeah,
I was going to ask you, like, and Ben White is somebody that we've taken off because of protecting minutes, and I don't
yeah.
think it's quite an injury, but he's certainly somebody that's in an orange zone, let's say,
I
where
think
it's
we
not
see
quite an injury, but
Saliba, Holding, and Tomiyasu.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the back line that we go with, and of course Turner will get his chance. And I think in midfield, what we see, look, if Granit Xhaka is starting, it makes sense that Lukunga, but I would put Vieira in. We've got a snippet of a cameo.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that we can do right now. He's been with the team long enough. It's been 2 weeks since he's been back training, so I don't think tactically there's an issue. And the fact that he put him on in the last 15 minutes of such an important game against United shows that not only do we see potential in him, but I think Mikel
He,
trusts him in the system. So
he
I
said he
don't
said today he thinks we'll see a lot of him, but do you think we'll see Xhaka, Vieira, and Emil
I don't.
midfield?
Well, Emil, we may later on. Emil's definitely injured, so he's out. He's not in contention. He didn't
Okay.
travel with the squad. Do I think so down the
Oh,
line? Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I think he'll definitely work him in. I think he's going to use the Europa League to kind of give minutes to people that are potential starters but aren't right now. So what I mean by that is, say your Eddies, for example, people that deserve minutes. And if they have a stellar performance, you may feel likely to rest somebody that's one of your starters in the league. So I think we'll use this as like a fitness training exercise because we have a group that we can, unfortunately, with all due respect. I think there's a lot of people that are saying, oh, no, it's a toughish group. I'm like, I don't really agree with that sentimentality. I think fundamentally it's a group that, we don't have to worry too much in. And particularly, I don't think that our depth is as bad as what people make out. I mean, when you look at it,
Mm.
Matt Turner and you look at that back line, look, Kieran Tierney, Rob Holding, Saliba, and Tomiyasu. Some would argue that was most of our front line starting last season, particularly our first choice fullback pairing up the absolute. And look, Saliba wasn't with us, but I think had he been with us, you could argue Saliba's already a bona fide starter. So like 3 out of the 4 of your back line being starters playing is not something that I would say is necessarily rotation, but it's really nice to
If
have.
Cedric was fit, Saliba wouldn't be playing. It'd be
Yeah,
Tomiyasu and Holding centre backs, but Cedric's not fit. So I think the only thing I'm unsure on is the midfield three, and the front line I think will be Marquinhos, Eddie, and I
Martinelli
don't.
for me.
Yeah, probably.
I think actually I actually have more question marks on the front line than I do in midfield. I'll be honest with you because look, with Granit Xhaka starting, I think we have no options in the lone pivot. Period. Like there isn't, if Mohamed El Nani was playing, we could sit here and have a debate. But I just don't think we actually have anybody physically to do that. And Partey's not going to travel; he hasn't traveled. So for me, Lukunga is a dead certainty to start along with Granit Xhaka. And for me, it just leaves one spot in midfield to debate. And with kind of
I don't think it's a debate. It's
and it's
VR.
not well, it's not a debate, but I'm just saying, like you were saying, I don't know what we're going to do in midfield. I think it's probably the most straightforward Shaka, Vieira, Lakunga. And for me, the debate can be up top. I think, in terms of who needs minutes and who needs rest, I think Saka is somebody that we're all looking
I
at
think
as
Marquinhos plays.
well, I think he plays, but I also think he impresses, by the way. I've been saying on this channel for so long that I feel that Marquinhos is physically ready and don't take what you've read on the timeline. I feel as though that there's a lot of things that I've seen from Marquinhos that makes me believe in him, not just as a prospect, but somebody that can seriously challenge the bench role. For us, I think that a lot of people just take an assumption based off where we got him from. And it's really
Yeah.
ironic because we did the same with Martinelli. And, when you've got players like Granit Xhaka saying he's somebody that reminds him of Martinelli physically in terms of his ability to get into the team, I don't take those words lightly. Granit Xhaka is not a passion merchant. He's not somebody that speaks in exaggerative tones. I think I take that fairly seriously. I saw it in my scouting reports, and I feel it's important to note because I think this is a great team for him to really go. It's probably the easiest game in the group, if we're really being honest, or at least the easiest team in the group that we will face relatively. So I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see him hopefully get some confidence because if anybody had watched the academy games, they knew that Marquinhos was tearing it up and he was clearly beyond that level, and it was really clear to see. But it's also something that you could kind of see just snippets. He wasn't completely comfortable. For example, he did an outside of the boot assist that was crazy in one of the United games for
Yeah.
the academy, and like those things, he's extremely creative, very physically durable, and explosive as well. We haven't seen the explosive bit. We've just seen him play it safe, pass, receive, recycle. That's what he's done in his first team cameos, but that's definitely not what he is as a player. But so, mate, what do you make kind of the Europa League in general and what our approach should be up until the knockouts at least? Let's talk about that because I'm not going to sit here and act like we're all high and mighty knowing what Zurich's tactics are going to be. So I think we've kind of agreed on the team lineup. What do you think the approach should be from Arsenal in terms of a perspective of how to approach this Europa League in addition with like the World Cup, right? Like I think this is a very unique year where we're really going to have to basically maintain our dominance up until the World Cup. And then after that, it's going to be a case of who has the most fit team to reach your objectives. And
I think for me, like first half, you have to be like 100% on it. Try get one or two,
mm,
and then calm down for the second half. Simply because we will need the bench, and we'll need them up until November and after November, obviously. But let the players play well for 60 minutes, and then maybe bring on like Kozio Dewberry or someone like that. Give
mm.
them a little chance, because he's been one of the best players in the academy this season. He has travelled. Um,
Well, it's worth noting because I don't know if you had a look.
Julian
So I'll
Sousa,
talk. I'll talk about some of the age restrictions because look, Lino Sousa and Kozier Dewberry definitely traveled, but I think it's
yeah,
more of a case to give them experience because they can't actually play. So in the Europa League, you have an A list and a B list, and the B list is related to under 23s that have been in the squad with at least 2 years of registration. So any U18 talents that haven't been registered with the squad. So obviously Lino Sousa and Amario would never be that. You'd have to take away a spot from somebody from the first team in order to have them. They count as somebody to register in the Europa League. That's why they have a different restriction. So I don't think that we're going to see any academy lads actually be able to play physically unless we're willing to take out a spot from, say, a Cedric or a first teamer that you're willing to do. And I don't think we have anybody that we're willing to do that. But in the league, Mario and Lino Sousa, the age restrictions don't matter in that sense. You don't have to be registered for 2 years like they do in the Europa. So that's why they could, in theory, not that they will, but they could in theory play. But I agree with you. I think Amario is somebody that I went big on the academy for sure. I've been talking about this boy for quite a while, and I think it's somebody that I really believe in terms of having that Bukayo-esque pathway. What youngsters for you? I know it's kind of tough with squad limitations, so understanding that we probably won't see these guys in the Europa League, which a lot of people will want to see. But who would you give in this question if we could? Because again, I really don't think we can because we don't meet the squad limit restrictions for it. But let's say we did in this hypothetical world. Who for you beyond Lino Sousa and Mario, who had traveled and had trained with the first team, would you believe have a step up? And let's do it beyond Ruel Walters because we've all seen that. So those are three that people have seen and known to have trained. Who do you think that is left in the academy is somebody that's deserving of a step up?
quick question: was Matt Smith given a spot?
He was not given a spot in the. Actually, you know what? He may have because of El Neni's injury. They may have given him a spot.
Smith, Surgeon with Sousa, Dewberry, Kozio Dewberry.
Well, Matt Smith would
They
fall
were
into
all there.
that category of a U23 who has been registered for 2 years because it doesn't just have to be with this year. It could be in the past, and he was registered in the past, and he's older. So really, you're looking at Callan Surgeon and Matt Smith as physically able to, with their age, to meet that kind of restriction. Anybody younger, you're kind of left in the lurch. But
Yeah, because
who would you bring, like beyond the squad restrictions? Let's say
okay,
if you
so
were just talent
I
wise.
don't particularly rate Matt Smith to the highest level.
Yeah, me neither.
So personally, I probably would give Lino Sousa maybe a little chance. Tierney hasn't. Well, I don't think he'll need 90 minutes. So maybe Lino Sousa should deserve a chance. Charles Sadio Jr. I think has been very good this season. We spoke about them at the start of this season and pushing up. Keon hasn't been as good as the wingers, weirdly.
Well, Cam's
Uh,
been injured as well, right?
he
Like
has, yeah.
he hasn't been able to really get a run in.
But like Charles has been very good striker, left wing, right wing, very good on both feet, good ball striking in the box. Will allow us not to have to play Saka at all, let him rest. Uh, and then Aziz to give Lokonga a rest and then play Xhaka six. I wouldn't want him in the six. I don't like him picking up from the centre backs. I prefer him higher up. So Aziz and Charles, because obviously we just spoke about Koza Dubra and Lino Sousa and Catalan Surgeon, who used to be higher up and then dwindled a bit.
Well, through injury, right? So Catalan Surgeon also, he's a guy that had been out for a
No,
year. He was
Torres,
extremely
yeah,
highly rated, and I think, by the way, when he has come in, he's already looked excellent with the academy. He's working himself back up from a major injury, no doubt. But he is somebody that Arteta rates. He had him in training prior to his injury, so I
yeah.
think it's definitely somebody who, along with, by the way, Charlie Patino, both were put on a strength and conditioning regimen by the club. So it's not like they're talents that we don't believe in. And by the way, I do feel that the club has made a decision on Salah Ad-Din and Catalan Surgeon. One of they couldn't coexist because they were very similar players in
Person.
terms of their play style, but also their preferences on the pitch. And I think that the club went with Kettle and Surgeon, and it seems to have agreed because of our first team training. So yeah, I agree. But I'll post one last question before we get into Tuchel, and we can talk about that because I guess you guys really want to know. But let's ask this question: kind of, would you feature kids before progression is secured? So basically, in tomorrow's game, I know age restriction wise we may, but mentality wise, I want to ask you the same question: like, would you fear featuring kids before progression's secured? And you know what? Let's even push that, and I'll just take it out, Yo-Yo. If you were in the Champions League as well, and you were
Yeah.
having just like with Arsene Wenger, would you give B squad, chances to a team that still hasn't secured progression in a European competition?
Yeah. Personally, simply because one, give I was about to say child, give the youngster experience, give the youngster experience. Maybe they show you something that you never expected. Because for example, like Foden, when he broke onto the scene at 16, we didn't really. Obviously, he had a big name, but he wasn't Sancho level big name in that academy. Uh, but he 16 years old, he got his debut in the UCL, and I think it just does things for a player to feel the trust in the manager that, well, we can bring him on 70th minute, 80th minute, give him a 10 minutes, 20 minutes to perform on a wider scale. It will be good for them, good for us as a club to increase his profile if he plays well. If he doesn't perform, it'll be bad, but it's his chance to shine. And is it before progression to the next round is secured or before like they sign a contract? Is that which one is that?
I
The
would
question.
I would go, don't worry about the contracts because I feel as though if you're in that situation, we've probably, secured his future. So I'd say just progression to the next round.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I agree at home, but like we brought on Patino versus um, Sunderland in the League Cup. Obviously, he's not Europa, but we brought him on in the League Cup and he scored, and it was good for him, good for his like reputation and stuff. So I'd do it at home more so than away.
No, you know what it is, mate? I completely kind of I disagree. I think that as long as you give A, the respect that the opposition deserves, and you don't go wholesale changes, I have no problem with the youngster getting a chance, regardless of whether it's Napoli away or whether it's
What do you mean you disagree?
Sunderland.
I said the same thing.
No, I disagree with Yo-Yo where it's only
Oh,
at home. Like for me personally, I'm kind of a mentality where no matter what the opponent is, I just want us to respect the opponent. And if you litter it in with a youngster here and there, I don't think it's a big deal. One thing I will agree with Yo-Yo though, in terms of understanding that when do you give a debut to somebody, it's really important. I was one that have been talking on BoP in terms of Saliba's integration for so long, where you only arrive once, and I believe that with every single youngster, that decision when to put him into the limelight is extremely important. And so when you are considering putting a youngster into the limelight. So let's take a Mario Cozier Dewberry, somebody that I love and I think is destined for a Saka-esque pathway. When do you decide to give somebody who, by the way, is smaller than most, maybe physically underdeveloped, but whose talent is undeniable? When do you give that player a chance, so to speak? I think you litter it with experience for me. Like I wouldn't go wholesale changes where I'm going a full B team Napoli away, let's say. I would sprinkle in theory for me. I have no problem with kids featuring, but make sure if you are going to feature a kid, it basically is dominated by experience. And you surround him by somebody who is experienced in the back line. And that experience for me isn't necessarily age related, it's experience in matches. So, like, I wouldn't mind, for example, an Ainsley Maitland Niles, in theory, a utility player that's played over 100 appearances but is still 22. An Eddie Nketiah, for example, is somebody that I don't think is inexperienced. He's somebody that we've brought through quite well. He's played quite a bit of experiences, and actually, he's a leader. So, despite being 22, I'd say he's probably the leader of the young brigade at Arsenal. So for me, that's not somebody that I look at as youth in parentheses. That's somebody that I would consider an experience. So that's
well, like the situation we put Patino in versus Sunderland, he had Pepe and
yeah,
Ketia and Many, Erdegaard were all on the pitch when he came on,
yeah,
all on his side. So it's much easier for them to like, perform because you have players that you can rely on to do. And we were dominating the game, but you have players to rely on
yeah.
in, in the game. But what
Well,
was I'll switch it on you then.
mm.
Do I think it was the I don't because Tierney
But
was
also
just
we kind of talked about age restriction wise, he can't start. Like they will travel, but they can't unless you're assuming that Lino Sousa replaces somebody in the squad. Just how Europa League works, he won't start. But sorry, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say who do you think will perform tomorrow? Like, who do you think will be the best tomorrow? Like, which player will stand out to him?
I think Eddie stands out because he's just too good. Again, I keep saying like he's our most improved player of the last 18 months. I think he's a player that he starts for every Premier League team, in my opinion, bar even some top sixes, and even then. He has a case to be starting for some top six clubs. You're talking your Chelsea's. You're talking even your Liverpool's right now with Nunez. Like
Yeah,
I United. Like these are teams that he could absolutely stake a claim for starting. So I think he's probably somebody that just lights up the pitch. But my surprise is Marquinhos. It's no it's no surprise to people that I've been waxing lyrical about this boy. I really think he's somebody that throughout this Europa League campaign basically makes us reconsider our plans. I think a lot of people on Twitter are convinced that we needed a left-footed right winger to provide backup cover to Saka without watching Marquinhos and without watching some of the players that we have at home. So I think Marquinhos is my surprise package. How about you? Do you agree with the Eddie? I feel like he's just the clear answer to
yeah,
this
I thought he
question.
was going
But
to be the easy answer, but I agree with Marquinhos as
mm,
well. The club do seem to trust him, and they don't talk that highly of youngsters publicly, regularly, especially the guys like Xhaka and Tierney who have said in the past, like, oh, if I speak, listen, because I don't like to speak a lot anyways. So I think, yeah, Xhaka speaking so highly on him. And the club not going so full throttle for a left-footed right winger shows they trust him somewhat. And yeah, so what's your prediction then?
prediction for me, I think I told you yesterday was going to be 3-0. I think it's going to be easy. I think that this is a team. It's again the easiest team in the group. I think there's a couple of players at least that have enough hunger to want to demand a starting spot, i.e. Eddie and Kedia. I think that Fabio Vieira, another one that for me, if he lights out the Europa League, he's going to be in serious contention for the Premier League. And I just think our back four, by the way, is very experienced. I don't think people understand the depth of our back four. It's excellent. And so I just think that we have a strong team. And I don't agree with this idea that Arsenal lack depth. I think that our depth is miles different from what it was last season. So for me, against the easiest team in the group, I'm feeling a clean sheet. I want a clean sheet, especially for Matt Turner. Somebody that I think has been plagued by some of the early jitters. I think what people have seen is not what you're going to get from Matt Turner long term. And I think he also probably impresses with a lot of time on the ball as well. But anyways, easy 3-0. How about you?
I thought 4-0. I was thinking 5 actually, but I don't know. Zurich don't regularly concede 5, despite not being the best team. So yeah, 4-0 I think is going to be. And I agree with the Turner thing because a lot of players were playing their first, like Saliba's first games,
Mm-hmm.
White's first consistent games at right back. Everybody was just coming back in. So I do think he'll be better than before. And I just hope we score early. Like, hope we score early and then they kill the game off. Because I don't need this 90, 100% energy to the 90th minute. We don't
Yeah.
need that. And Curran went for 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, these are our predictions once again, and you know what? I'll leave probably an 8 to 10 minute little segment. I know it's going to go a little bit longer of a preview, but we have got a lot of
I don't
world
think.
football news. But I'll give you guys a chance. We'll talk Tuchel because look, I think between me and Chris, we've been talking about the limits on Tuchel, and at least me and you, we've been speaking for over a year now. It's dating back to last Christmas where we were saying, listen, there's a limit to the back three. There's a limit to what you can do with the back three in world football. And do I think it came out of the blue? I'm going to say absolutely. I really don't know if I actually thought that Tuchel would be sacked this early, particularly after getting such a huge war chest. And despite what people are saying, they made a decision to recruit Aubameyang because of Tommy Tuchel. Like I don't understand how they can go from Ronaldo to Aubameyang and then a week later basically sack Tuchel, like despite kind of everybody assuming that he's going to have like a roadmap.
Well,
You
behind the
know,
scenes, a lot of people lost faith in him. He lost faith with players,
yeah.
and the club just started going against him on certain decisions. Like he wanted to sell, um, what's his name, Broja to West Ham,
Mm.
and the club said no, and they gave him a new contract. So there was like a big indifference between him, and apparently the communication broke down between him and what's his name, Bowley. Bowley wanted someone who regularly talks in the WhatsApp group and all that stuff. Um, I posted it on Twitter before the season. I thought he should have been sacked last season because I felt he persisted too much with the three at the back, and none of his attackers thrived. And his main threat was 1v1 on the right hand side with a right back. Like you
Well, his
can't
main threat was wingback
right back.
creation,
Yeah, your
and
wing backs can't be your main thing. Like 1v1, it has to be like maybe crosses in the box, incorporate other things. But if James was having a bad game 1v1, they were going to lose, and I think that's a bad thing. And yesterday was an appalling performance. Like before we went live, I was watching that game and I was like, "There's
crazy.
no rotations, no nothing. They weren't creating anything, and they didn't have a shot for like a 25-minute period of dominating the ball, but they didn't have shots. And I think the system was failing the players, and the players weren't doing well either. And one question I want to ask is that: have you seen any attacker thrive under Tuchel? Because I haven't,
Well,
and he's been
not
there
not
for
just that, I think the only time that you've seen it was in his Dortmund team, and even there, that's
yeah.
kind of, asterisked with, Bundesliga attacks and kind of, what that team represents in terms of the league,
And
how
I was
dominant
talking
it
about
is.
this regularly in the summer.
Yeah.
Because Chelsea fans thought I was a Chelsea fan. I was just constantly saying like, this guy's been Gilmore, Guehi, Tomori, Hudson-Odoi, Tammy,
Livramento, the list
Ian
goes
Tammy,
it
Cole,
literally goes on and on.
and on it all.
Broja, it's just
Yeah.
it's horrible. And you know what? I don't understand. One thing I will say is, people seeing the Graham Potter, that would worry me. I will tell you right now as a rival, if Graham
Yes.
Potter receives the backing, which he will, from Todd Bowley in terms of finances, time, and somebody who has an appreciation for academy talent, because some of these guys, by the way, they're not permanently sold, or they at least have buyback clauses on a lot of them. So if the manager that was strong enough would demand the owner to buy them back, they would. And I think a strong personality with Chelsea's backing and their financial state is a
And better
worry.
attacking talent because he's
Yeah.
done what he's doing with Welbeck and Pascal Gross
The opposite, right? So
and
he's been
Trossard.
somebody that's been squeezing the proverbial attacking juice out of nothing and
Yeah.
extracting miracles. And then when you've got somebody like that, I think that that would be a frightening prospect, and I think it would actually put Chelsea back on the map.
I
Although that hard,
really don't need. I really don't need it. And that Tuchel, I was so kind of surprised because it happened in the morning, and someone sent me a screenshot,
yeah,
and I was like, "What the hell was this? Like, why is he gone now?" And then they barely won this season. They've got red cards, bare yellow cards. They haven't created a lot. They've lost an XG every game. Pretty much every game this season, they've lost an XG. And last season, they shouldn't have been that close to Arsenal and Spurs. Like they really shouldn't have. With the quality, with the perceived quality gap between the teams last season, they shouldn't have been that close. I hope they get Poch. Poch does develop talent well, but tactically, I think Potter is a much more threatening manager with money
do you know what
than
it is? I think the difference between the two is I think both are excellent for a rebuild. I will say that. Both are excellent for a rebuild. But the benefits, I think, is that Potter, for me, has a little bit of extra tactical nuance that I think is the difference
yes,
between them, for example, competing for title winning honors, whether that's the league or whether that's the Champions League.
yeah,
Like I believe
yeah.
that, Pochettino can get you up to a certain point of being ready to compete. Is he that manager to make you win the titles? I'm not sure on that, but he can definitely build up a rebuild. And I definitely do think, by the way, with their attacking talent, people forget that Pochettino did his best work at Southampton in early years of Tottenham, where he basically had a very young, hungry group that he could
Yeah, when
coach
he builds talent,
and
yeah.
press. And like, so he can absolutely get you to a point. And that's what I think either whoever they choose, they're going to improve. I guess is my major point. Like Tuchel for me was the one that was hampering this club, both on the pitch and off it. By the way, the amount of talent wasting that they do and the amount of money that they've wasted. But again, I think no matter what they do is an improvement. I will say, despite the early form, already is going to be 6 games played. Right, they won't have somebody for the weekend, so it'll be 7 games played. If they drop points, I think I don't know how many games you can play to really salvage a season. I think if it gets anywhere near 10 match weeks and they haven't been able to really have a defined appointment, you start to worry as a Chelsea
Well,
fan. But
Potter is in London, and they will have to pay a lot of money for him.
ton,
16 million for a manager is a lot of money. Um, will they? Is he worth it? 100%. There's not many better you can get
yeah.
right now. Um, do I want to see him there? No. Would I prefer Poch? Yes. Do I want to see Poch there? No, because they've got a lot of talent, and he's done well with talent, just
I would
talent.
love Brendan Rodgers to
Exactly.
go
But
something like that.
they'd have to beat him on the weekend for him to get sacked, and then them to take him.
Oh, that's
Or
a,
they
that's
beat him.
That's
They
a
beat him
poison
last week.
chalice that I am willing to take so I
Mm.
can free my boys at Leicester from the clutches of Brendan Rodgers. But look, I think regardless of what happens with Tuchel, and you know what, the one thing I will say is as scattergun approach as Bowley looks, I really like the idea that he's like, it's not working, boom, let's get another solution. Like
He's only been in charge 100 days literally today.
it's crazy because when you actually think about it, look, I'm not a Chelsea aficionado, but no Marina, no Tuchel. They got rid of somebody that I was told Callahan or something. Like they got rid of somebody from the board that a lot of Chelsea fans are really not a fan of. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of interesting. Look, it could go pear shaped if you don't got a strong personality that understands football. But Graham Potter is the definition of that, in my opinion. He's somebody that he's on the list of basically everybody's top young manager in world football. When you're looking at prospect managers, he's up there. He really is. Another name I'll throw into the hat, I will always throw into the hat, is a certain Argentinian, Marcelo Gallardo. He's somebody that I love. I think he's been ready for European football. Do I think he's ready for a club like Chelsea? I think he is. Do I think Chelsea like foreign managers to come in and do it? No. He's probably going to be somebody that replaces either one of, Brendan Rodgers or at Leicester or, of course, Potter at Brighton. Like if this does all send through really quickly, I could definitely see him, at a Brighton. But the one thing I will say is Tony Bloom will extract everything from you, but Todd Bowley doesn't care. Todd Bowley will slap 100 million on somebody that he thinks is worth it. No worries. And they absolutely were trying to get some. If they get Michael Edwards again,
They were, but they
and they
said no. He said
it,
no.
and he did say no to them. But again, I can't fault the ambition. Like if I'm sitting there as a billionaire owner and you're basically saying, okay, I don't like our sporting project, let's get the best sporting project in the game. Like that's the definition of a guy who has so much money, he buys the best professionals to run a business for it. Like he has no idea what he's doing, but he buys professionals to suit his need. And so for me, I think the Tuchel situation is beyond ridiculous in terms of what he did. But look, if he's going to get a really adequate replacement, who, by the way, is absolutely, Graham Potter, I think it's the best coach that they could do, especially at this point of the season. So that's the one thing I'll say on it. Chris, any last minute thoughts on the Tuchel situation?
It was a bit earlier than I thought it would happen simply because Bowley's new, but
Mm,
he should have. He deserves to go,
yeah.
especially the way they've been playing and the way it was looking, considering what they spent. Was I right? Yes. That's the last thing I want to say. I was right on Tuchel getting sacked. It was my hot take at the start of the season. He's second now, isn't it? Because someone who got sacked.
Wasn't
Someone,
it?
someone,
Yeah,
someone
who
got
did
sacked.
his? Someone did get sacked.
Yeah, he's second coach to get sacked. Someone, anyways. Oh no,
It's
that's bad.
escaping me. Yeah, it's gonna be
It
anybody in
is
the comments. There's somebody that has been sacked before. It's escaping us right now. Parker, Scott
Parker.
Parker.
That's
There we
me.
go.
Let's speak
Absolutely.
now against them for signings. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
So no, guys, like it's an interesting situation that we're going to try to develop. And look, guys, sorry that we basically got so long on this preview, but look, Tuchel news, we kind of had to do it and we had to address it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that little commentary. Look, we're going to be back with another podcast. On Friday we've got to review the match against Zurich, and then of course Saturday we're going to preview our Everton match where we'll talk about the Pickford injury and that impact on the team. But guys, thank you so much. I'm going to do my thing. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. You hit that bell for notifications to know when we do in fact upload. You can find all the boys' socials down below at GeorgeV_AFC. You can find Chris at CKFTBL, that's at CK Football. And of course, you can find Current at Currency BOP on Twitter. In terms of Ball Over Passion, you can find us that on YouTube, but also at BOP Footy on Twitter. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us. And we'll probably catch you guys on Friday, roughly around 8 p.m., maybe 9 p.m. But keep that kind of bell on notice so that you know the exact time. But we'll talk about our Zurich review then. Thank you so much, guys. And we will be signing off and see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.